question number 15, which says, should payments, this is in the exact same version. Version 1, should payments that an eligible borrower made to an independent contractor or sole proprietor be included in calculations of the eligible borrower's payroll costs? And the answer is no. Any amounts that an eligible borrower has paid to an independent contractor or sole proprietor should be excluded from the eligible business's payroll costs. And then it goes on to say that they can apply for themselves. Great. There are several things here. Number 1, this question, number 15 and number 17, were released 24 times. Okay, so number 17 saying that we don't have to pay any attention to any rules and regulations and laws and changes that occur after our date doesn't apply to us. Released 24 times, unchanged. This one here saying that an eligible borrower cannot make payments to an independent contractor. This makes total sense. When we look at services, services were never covered. They are not a covered payroll expense. And this makes sense because if you hire somebody to come polish your floors or wash your windows and you pay them a few $100s and they go home for the next year or two and they don't come back until you need them again, that is a single service, and it makes sense why you would not include them on your payroll, because they are not a full-time equivalent employee of your business or a worker of your business. That is a one-time service. So that makes total sense. This carried over to the PPP interim rule, in which says, the interim rule says, do independent contractors count as employees for purposes of PPP loan calculations? And the answer is no. Independent contractors have ability to apply for a PPP loan on their own, so they do not count for purposes of a borrower's PPP calculation. And then again, in question P, do independent contractors count as employees for the purpose of PPP loan forgiveness? No, is the answer. No. Independent contractors have the ability to apply for a PPP loan on their own. They do not count for purposes of a borrower's PPP loan forgiveness. Great. There are a couple things here. Number 1, services were never qualified. Okay. Bank of America correctly told this to us in our emails. They said, collect all of your payroll costs, including independent contractors' pay for 2019, all of your pay to independent contractors, as reported to the IRS on Form 1099 miscellaneous, do not include services. Full-time employee equivalent independent contractors are covered. Services independent contractors are not. Okay. So we look at these. The SBA FAQ that says, do independent contractors count as far as costs for forgiveness? No, they can apply on their own. And these 2 questions in the interim rule, which are carried over. Do independent contractor costs count for qualification of forgiveness? And the answer is no, they can apply on their own. Okay, now these questions don't say services. Now, if you look at everything, if you read all of the law, all of the legislation, all of the bill, the law, the interim rule, all of these things, independent contractors as full-time equivalent employees are covered in your business the whole way through. Services, however, are not. So when we insert the word services into these sentences that say, do services paid, individual services paid to an independent contractor count toward payroll? The answer is no. Correctly, the answer is no. And when we do that, nothing is in conflict. We are not in conflict with the bill or the law or the rest of the interim rule, which I'm going to cover in a second. We're not in conflict with the application, the promissory note, all of the documentation, all of the documents, the legislation, all of it. It's cohesive. So we can say with almost absolute certainty that we are talking about services. However, it doesn't say services. So let's ask this. What happens when we insert the words full-time equivalent employee independent contractors? Or or workers or independent contractors that are workers of your business. Part-time or full-time workers or employees of your business. Now we are in conflict with everything, with every piece of legislation, with everywhere that they are expressly qualified. So we know that it must mean services. However, it still doesn't say services. Okay, but it doesn't say businesses either. So therefore, we cannot project onto it what we want it to say. I believe it says it's talking about services. However, I cannot project that it is talking about services. I can't project it onto those sentences. At the same time, lenders and the SBA and whoever else would like it to say independent contractors who are full-time employees of your business, full-time equivalent employees, or full-time workers of your business, they cannot project that on either. So these sentences very literally do not say anything. They don't say what it is they want to say. They don't say anything. So the fact that they don't say anything kind of renders them a moot point. They very literally don't say anything. And when we leave them out, if we leave them out because they don't say one or the other, they don't specify one or the other, when we leave them out, independent contractor, full-time equivalent employees are covered everywhere. They're covered in every piece of legislation. And what else is interesting is that when we look at the rest of the interim rule, where those sentences occur that say no, independent contractors can apply for themselves, let's see if we are eligible. What do borrowers need to know and do? Am I eligible? It says, if you were in operation on February 15, 2020, and either had employees for whom you paid salaries and payroll taxes or paid independent contractors as reported on a Form 1099 miscellaneous, in the exact same document that said no, independent contractors, businesses or service, don't know, those are not covered. However, if you are a business that paid independent contractors, you are qualified in the exact same document. Then we're going to look at T. What certifications need to be made by the borrower upon acceptance of your loan? On the Paycheck Protection Program application, an authorized representative of the applicant must certify in good faith to all of the above. Number 1, the applicant was in operation on February 15, 2020, and had employees for whom it paid salaries and payroll taxes or paid independent contractors, as reported on a Form 1099 miscellaneous. So you can see the conflict that's going on within these own documents, okay? And when we insert the word services, it is nowhere in conflict. Nowhere. Not one place is it ever in conflict. However, when you insert the word businesses into this own document that explicitly qualified independent contractors twice, now you're in conflict with every piece of legislation, every document that we signed and were issued. And yet, these are the two sentences that are blocking billions of dollars of small business economy to these small business owners that are very confused. They keep having these two sentences thrown at them in their face amongst all of the places they are qualified.